Okay, yes, Evan. I hope everything's well with you. I've had a look at your designs now that you're creating for these four tin can ideas, and I'd like to think that some of them could be developed a bit further. Thinking back towards the graphic skills that we learned back in September. From September to January. Anyway, if you think about what we were looking at, the task was to design four different products using the baked bean can. Okay, so or not, it could not necessarily be a baked bean can. It could be anything else. But if you look at what you've got, a baked bean can is an elliptical shape. All right, like so. Okay, so it's an ellipse on the top, two straight lines vertical, and then the same ellipse at the bottom there. Okay, a baked bean can does not look like that at the moment. Well, that's not true, okay? In 2D, it does look like that, all right? But we're trying to represent everything in 3D if we possibly can, all right? So a combination of 2D and 3D designs, drawings is really good. So you've got there now a 3D can, so we're calling that a standard bean can, okay? So that's a standard can, but you didn't have to necessarily use that, did you? You could have used a tin of Spam, couldn't you? Or a tin of something else, different shape. Could have been a tin of sardines. So it could have been one of those Spam tins, which looks something a bit more like that. So trapezoid type shape, I think. All right, with rounded corners and a bit softer looking like that. It could have been that sort of thing, couldn't it? Or else it didn't have to be a bean can. If I say soup here, for example, and I say Spam on there so you can see what it is. Just to give you an idea of the tins. But when you open these tins up, all of them have a thickness. Okay, they all have a thickness to them. So you can see that there's a material thickness. Same with the can. It's got a lip on it and it's got a thickness. So you've got two circles, one inside, two ellipses, sorry, one inside the other there to give yourself an idea of the thickness of the can. All right. So looking at your ideas then. So I know some people have done some of the ideas, but I'd like to think you get these done and get these coloured and shaded and annotated well. So if you look at what I've done so far, I have now annotated my drawings, okay, with arrows. I've said what it is. I can actually call it a baked bean can. I could actually put some measurements on there if I wanted to. I don't know the measurements, so I'm going to guess, okay? So don't hold me to this now. 150 millimeters there, but it's also got a diameter, which you know about, a diameter of 80 millimeters. We've worked in diameters on that with the geometry skills, so remember those things, okay? So how can I measure the span tin? Same principle. Look at the length of it. And the width of it. And give yourself a couple of measurements on there. So, I don't know, let's have a look at 80 by 35 millimeters, okay? So I'm already starting to add dimensions to 3D objects. Now, when you start to design your tasks, all right, your products, you need to be doing it in the same way. So you have an A4 page, you want four ideas on that page pretty much, all right? But in 3D would be good, all right? So if you want to start off by crating, remember the crating that we did with the drill? So if you start off by crating, by boxing in a cylinder, sorry, a rectangle, the size that you think that can would fit into. Okay, and then from there, you can look to add an ellipse on the top, okay, and an ellipse on the bottom. Which will then give you the shape that you want to create for your can. Now mine's messy, okay? I'm trying to draw heavy so that you can see online here without me having to rub out. So I'm not going to rub out because I don't want to do that if I can help it. But you can already see that I've got there now 3D tin. So if I was starting to look at this, I would label it steel bean tin. And I'll give it my sizes just so the person looking at your ideas has an idea of size. 150. And I'll go radius this time of 40. Well, that'll give you a diameter of something else, won't it? So you can work it out for yourself. So you can have a look at that for yourself there. You don't need me to tell you that. But what are we going to do next? Well, I've seen a design with somebody today who's actually wrapped this in lovely bits of paper. They've gone round and they've put stripes on this tin, which is great. So I've seen the made product, but I haven't seen the designs that represents the tin. So they've created the tin and they've done it and they've finished the practical object. They've taken a photograph of it. I look at their designs and all I see is a tin looking like that. I don't actually see the reality. And what they've used it for is a pencil pot. So what would be nice would be to add a few pencils in there. Etc. Okay, now I haven't got a rubber, so I'm not going to rub these bits out here, but you can see what I'm getting at. So you're starting to then create a drawing. Now I'm going to draw with a black pen to overdraw the lines and outline what I've got. Excuse the rustling of the bag. So I'll go over now some of the lines to enhance the drawing. I'm using a black fine liner and I'm going over the lines a couple of times to bold those in. At this point, I can select the lines I want. Now you have more time on your hands than I do, okay? So you can do this. Take your time. Outline things with a pen. I'm doing this freehand, look, okay? So I'm taking my time. I might go over the line more than once where needed, yeah. Double it up. And so forth. I'll do one there as well. Okay, so you can see how that's building up. Also, I would annotate in pen afterwards as well. And tidy that up. Now what I would do is then get a rubber and I would lightly just take away some of the pencil marks that are not needed to give me an opportunity to add a bit of colour to these. All right, so bit of colour. Colour pencils, nothing else. Got my selection. Went into school specially to get them for you. And I'm going to start to shade with colour pencils. Oops, pressing too hard. To make those look like pencils. And I think you'd agree already that, you know, that begins to look like a pencil. Then looking at the pot, so I saw this really creative use of colour on the side there. It was like a rainbow pot. It was lovely, it was. The made item, but the drawing certainly didn't reflect what was being made. So go back, add a bit of colour, and make that look nice and tidy like that. All right. I'll use another colour in the centre here. This person who did this used green. I'll use green. I'm not pressing hard with the colour pencils, so this is not like a colouring book activity. This is just applying a bit of colour to sort of to enhance the drawing. Now what I will do when I finish these drawings off is to go around the outside with a dark blue pencil, which is nice and sharp, and a rule where I can do straight lines, and I'll just outline around the outside of the product. I can't do it there, so I'll do that freehand. But again, I'm being free with my lines, just to give presentation. Okay, it'll enhance the drawings no end. Off the pencils. So anything that's straight, I'm using a rule. And none of these sort of finish neatly. They all sort of randomly just flick over the edge. And then with a lighter blue I'm going to use now, if I can find one here, it's just going to fade away from the edge. So a couple of colour pens, it doesn't have to be blue, it could be another light colour. But all I'm doing is lightly applying a bit of a background to this, okay? And it just makes the product stand off the page a little. etc. Okay. Then of course you need to say what this is. So how is this red applied to that tin? Well, that is washi tape. I'm sure you all know what that is. Or it could be masking tape. And you painted it. Or you painted the can, or whatever it would be. Okay, so try and make your drawings look as neat as I've done that one there now. Okay, I'll put that back into the frame so you can see it nice and good. So that's the sort of thing that we're after, but 4 of those on the page. So I hope that gives you an example of what I'm looking for. So if you don't feel that your drawings are up to that sort of standard, okay, go back, have a look at them, and that's your task for today then, folks. Okay, well done. Thank you very much, folks. Bye bye.